Students to lesson 415, where we are talking about applying the tangent ratio to a real life scenario. We've been talking about this idea of an angle and its slope ratio, okay, which we said we've learned how to find the legs of a right triangle using an angle measure, slope angle, slope ratio, which in the last lesson we learned that was called the tangent ratio. And now we're going to take that tangent ratio and we're going to apply it using this concept that we've talked before about with indirect measurement. And trying to figure out the height of different things that would maybe not be so easy to measure directly. So the Statue of Liberty here, notice Lindy gets nosebleeds whenever she is more than 300 feet above the ground. During a class field trip, her teacher asked if she wanted to climb to the top of the Statue of Liberty. Since she does not want to get a nosebleed, she decided to take some measurements to figure out the height of the torch of the statue. She found a spot directly under the torch and then measured 42 feet away and determined that the angle up to the torch was 82 degrees. Her eyes are 5 feet above the ground. Should she climb to the top or will she get a nosebleed? So we're going to go through and we're going to actually do some calculations. Okay? She took some measurements. So the idea is, if we go through and we take a look at this, and I draw in some pieces here. Let's go through here. So if this is the ground right here, then let's say, whoops, that was not very impressive. Let's try that again. So if that's the ground right there, and let's say that Lindy is sitting or standing right here. Let's say there's our, we're going to do a little stick figure here. There's where she's standing. So if she looks straight ahead, okay, compared to, she's looking up here, this is what's called an angle of elevation. And then we're also looking directly below the torch. So there is my right triangle. And now if I go through and I put some measurements in here, the first measurement it said was she's 42 feet away. And she's looking up at an angle of elevation at 82 degrees. So let's put that information in our picture here. So this is an 82 degree angle of elevation. She is 42 feet away. And the other portion that they tell you is that she, from her eyes to the ground, that is 5 feet. Let me put that in there. So her eyes are 5 feet above the ground. And what we are trying to find, I'm going to put the X right here. I'm trying to figure out what's the height of this Statue of Liberty. So now, if that's the picture that we're drawing, I'm going to use this 82 degree angle as my angle of my slope angle. So I am going to take the tangent of 82 degrees over 1, there's my ratio, equal to the opposite leg over the adjacent leg. So in this case, x over 42. Okay? So in this case, unfortunately, I can't use the Pythagorean theorem to solve this one, because I do have a right triangle, but I only know one side, I don't know two. And so this is where the tangent comes into play. If you're working with the legs of the right triangle and you know one of the two in an angle measure, you can set up this idea of a tangent ratio. So now if we cross multiply, x times 1 is x, equal to the other diagonal, which is 42 times the tangent of 82. Notice I have not used a calculator at all yet, but now that x is solved for, it's all by itself, now I can actually go through and type this into the calculator. That means x is approximately equal to, let's take a look, 42 times the tangent of 82, excuse me, gives me an answer of approximately 298 point, if I go to the nearest hundredth, it would be 85. Okay, that's an answer. Now, you might have been wondering why they told you that her eyes were 5 feet, because this, from the tip of the torch down to her eye level, is 298.85. We want to know all the way to the ground, so I have to add that 5 feet back on to the end. So I need to add 5 feet to that, which means my final answer is 303.85 feet is how high that torch is above the ground. Okay, which, going back to the problem, it said Lindy gets nosebleeds if she's more than 300 feet above the ground. Well, in this case, she would be more than 300 feet above the ground. She would be about almost 304 feet above the ground. Okay? So this concept, what I want you to understand is we can use tangent whenever we're trying to find the height of an object in this case, as long as I have an angle of elevation and as long as I can measure a certain distance away, I can go through and always set up this tangent ratio in order to solve for that height. Okay? So this is one example of where this is applied. In class, you're going to see a bunch more examples. So I want you to do the best you can. Hopefully this made some sense. The practice to learn for this section is 447 to 452, but you can skip problem 449 in the practice to learn. Good luck. We'll work on some more of these applications in class. We'll go over any questions as well, and we'll go from there. Good luck with everything. I hope you do well.